But let us go ahead and begin. So I will be sharing a PowerPoint with you with the information so you can have some visual aid. Okay. So just in general about the webinar, as I said before, if you do have any connectivity issues, just exit Blackboard and you might have to restart it. If anything, this session is being recorded, so you can access this webinar on our website that is listed right here, utdallas.edu/ICP/resources/webinars. And just to kind of inform you, we can, well, you can see us and hear us, but we cannot see you or hear you. There is a chat feature that we will enable, but it will be at the end of the webinar so that you can ask your burning questions. Okay, so the Bursar's office, just to kind of give an overview as to what the Bursar's office does, they're responsible for the following: for billing students their tuition and fees, collecting payment for tuition and fees, for housing and meal plan charges, etc., and also for processing refunds when applicable. So their contact information is on the screen. They're located in the Student Services building on the 2nd floor. And their telephone number is there as well, and their email address, which is probably how you'll want to primarily contact them, is through their email, bursar@utdallas.edu. Especially if you are outside of the country, it might be difficult to, call long distance or coordinate with the time zone change. So, okay, all right. So I will let Lisa take it away.
Okay, so as Tamara was saying, the best way to get in contact with us is through email. We do have 4 or 5 people looking at that every day, so you may think that it may take a while to get the email and answer through email. So sometimes people just want to call us quickly thinking it's going to be quicker, but we do have a lot of people looking at those emails, so we do have a quick response time for those. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email us anytime. We'll get back to you during our business hours. Some of the things that we do in our office as far as the tuition and fees, we will be responsible for charging tuition and fees. So you can view our tuition and fees on our website. There is a comparison chart of our tuition plans that we're going to have. Current or admitted students can get more accurate estimates through their Galaxy portal. Instructions are on the link above. So if you have a hard time understanding what our tuition looks like or reading the charts, again, you can always contact us. We can help you understand that. But if you just want to kind of go through and see how much you're going to get charged specifically based on how many hours you're in, what kind of program you're in, if you're going to live on campus, if you're going to have a meal plan, you can actually get an estimate of that prior to enrolling in the university or prior to being registered. So so that's something that you could even do if you're an admitted student. You can go on and actually get that estimate even now. And we also have that on our website for non-admitted students as well. So if you're not admitted but you you kind of want to know how much it's going to cost to come here, you can actually go to the website and just put all that information in as far as your grade level, things like that, if you're going to live on campus, and then you can actually get an estimate there as well. The tuition and fee estimate that you do is only going to be for 1 semester. It's not for your entire program. So when you do that estimate, it's not going to give you a full total for however long your program is. So it's just for that semester. So it will be only charges for that semester. And your charges are based on specific enrollment. So that there may be information that's not in our system yet, so it may not be able to pick up that. There are additional fees such as health insurance, international student service fees. That does not always get included in the estimate. We have tried to update our estimates to include that. If we know that you're an international student, we have tried to put that in there, so you may see that on your estimate, but it may not be included depending on where you go, if you go to the website or if you actually log in as a student and do the estimate yourself. So we're going to go ahead and move on. And I apologize for my voice. The weather here is a little changing a lot, so my voice is a little bad today. So we do have 2 tuition plans. All incoming students have the opportunity to choose between 2 tuition plan rates. That's why I was mentioning that there was a place where you could go view those plans online. On the other slide, you could see the link to go to view those plans. Newly admitted students will receive an email with instructions on how to make the selection. So once you've been admitted to the university, you should receive an email through your UT Dallas email. So all admitted students should receive an email address. That's going to be our official. So always check that. So if you're expecting to find out any information from the university, or if you email us, please try to use your email address that's from the university, because we may not be able to respond to you depending on what it is, if it's from a personal email address. But again, we will send you an official communication through your UT Dallas email with instructions on how to make that selection. This is a one-time selection, and no changes can be made once a plan choice or the deadline to make the selection has passed. So you only get, it's the very first term you're admitted to the university, you get a choice that semester only. So it's not every year, it's just a one-time choice. And the deadline to make that selection this year, if you're coming for the spring semester, would be December 31st. You would have to have that selection made. Our offices are closed during that time, but everything's done online, so you would be able to make that selection without the university being open. So just check your email box to determine the instructions on how to do that. We do have 2 plans. There's the variable plan and then the guaranteed plan. The variable plan, the rates are subject to change annually. So it may start out, if you go on the variable plan, you'll notice that the rates start out a little bit cheaper. That's because they're subject to change each year, and it could go up from 3 to 6% every year. I do know that for the upcoming fall semester, it is going up around 6%. So you don't know how much it's going to be. It could change every year. The guaranteed plan locks the rate in for 4 consecutive years. So the rate that you pay for the incoming semester that you start would be the rate that you pay for 4 years. So if you've had time, or if you have time to go take a look at the plans, or if you've already been on our website and looked at the plans, you'll see that the chart basically looks like it says, are you an undergraduate or a graduate student? Are you a resident of Texas, or are you a non-resident of Texas? And then you just look for how many hours you plan to be in, and then you kind of just follow the little chart to figure out how much you're going to pay. That chart is the one you would use for 4 consecutive years if you're on the guaranteed plan. After 4 years, that plan will expire. If you haven't graduated or you're still here within that 4 years, you would just go to the next year's plan. So it would be the 2021 plan. So if you come in for this year, for the spring, it would be the 1920 plan for the guaranteed. And then 4 years from now, when it expires, you would just go up to the 2021 plan instead of going all the way to the brand new plan, which has had 4 years worth of rate increases. So this can be a good thing if you plan on staying at the university for several years. You just kind of have to look at how long you plan to attend here, because again, the variable plan starts out a little bit cheaper. So if you're only going to be here maybe 1 year or 2 years, that plan may be better for you. Whereas if you plan on being here a little longer, the guaranteed plan would be best probably for you. So all of our tuition and fees will be billed after you're registered for class. So once you're registered, we will submit a bill for you, or send you a bill through your Easy Pay, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. Even once you register, that doesn't mean the bill is going to be there immediately. We do have specific dates each semester that the bill will be ready. For the upcoming spring semester, it's not until December the 5th. So if for some reason you were able to get registered now, you wouldn't see a bill for the spring semester until after December 5th. That's the same for every semester. So sometimes once you get here and registration opens maybe in April for the fall semester or for the summer, you're not going to be able to see your bill right away. There are certain times during the year that we will actually start the billing process for each term. Please do not try to make any payments prior to your bill being out there. So try not to prepay. I know that sometimes people want to try to get a loan, or they want to try to, get the money here as soon as possible, so maybe they don't spend it or something like that. But please wait until we've actually billed you to make any payments. And all of our dates for a lot of what I'm going to talk about are on this payment and refund calendar. So we are going to talk about, I think as we go through the slides, we're going to talk more about if you have to withdraw from a class or if you drop a class, what's going to happen. But you can find all of this information on this payment and refund calendar. Also, our payment deadlines, when you have to have your tuition paid so that you don't get dropped for non-payment. So this calendar right here that you're seeing on the screen right now is very important to find on our website every semester. So I know you can see it here, but you can find this on our website for every semester. It's very, very important that you go take a look at this every semester so you can know your deadlines. There's also an academic calendar as well that you can find online, which talks about registration dates and things like that. So both of those are very important. So some of the things that of the forms of payment that we take, we do use this portal called EasyPay. So you may, when you're speaking to someone in our office, you email us or you call us, we're going to talk about EasyPay. EasyPay is our online payment system, and you're going to use your NetID and your password that you would log into your Galaxy account with. It's the same one across all of those systems. So that's where you could go view your bill. You could set up direct deposit. So if we needed to refund you and you had a U.S. bank account, we could actually send that money directly to your U.S. bank account. You could set that direct deposit up. You can set up an authorized user, which I think is fairly important if you have a family member that you would like to have view your account information, or maybe they're going to help pay for you, and you would like them to be able to view your bill. It's very important to have them have their own access to log in. We don't want you to give them your login information, your NetID, and your password, because then they can get in all systems and they can view your grades and they can go register you for classes, and we wouldn't want them to be able to do that. So this is just the system for EasyPay so that they can see your financial information, how much you owe. They can make payments on your behalf. And the way you would do that is go into EasyPay, and once you log in, there's a spot on there that says add authorized user. And then all you're going to do is just put their email address in. So if they have an email address, you would put their email address in. They would receive an email, and then they would do the rest from there. So all you would have to do is just add them as an authorized user and add their email. So that is something that we do suggest that all students try to set up if they have somebody that they need to be able to see their bill, especially if they're going to ask questions, if they're going to send us emails and want to know information about your bill. They have to be an authorized user for us to give them any information.
And sorry to everyone that is in here. It seems like we're having some connectivity issues. Okay. I'm not sure if it's because of the weather, but if you see the video, I think y'all are still able to hear us. But if you see the video going in and out, we apologize for that.
We'll just blame the weather.
Right. Yes, blame the weather.
So again, so EasyPay is going to be an important online system that you're going to hear about a lot, and where you can see your bill and you can make payments. We do take electronic checks through EasyPay, where if you have a bank account with a routing number and a checking account number, you can actually go pay with no fee. You can use that electronic check through our online system. We do take credit cards, American Express, Discover, MasterCard only. We do not take Visa, any form of Visa, even if it's a travel card. It cannot be Visa. It has to be American Express, Discover, or MasterCard. There is a 1.9% convenience fee added to those anyone using those forms of payment. So, but that form of payment is only accepted through EasyPay. We don't take credit cards at our front window. We do take checks, paper checks at the front window. You can also use a demand draft at our front window, or a cashier's check or a money order. We do take that at our front window. But the only two forms of payment on EasyPay are going to be electronic check, where you put in your routing number, your checking account number, and then the credit card as well. If for some reason you're unable to make your payment in full by the due dates that are listed on our payment and refund calendar, we do have some payment plan options that you could set up. We do have the installment plan, which takes all of your charges, including your meal plan, housing, student insurance, all of that, and it divides it into 4 payments. The first one is due at the time of setup. There is a $25 setup fee. There is no interest on that as long as you pay everything off within the semester. It's just a $25 setup fee. Again, 25% would be due at the time of setup, and then 3 other payments within the semester, usually like 1 each month, would be due for the remaining tuition. And that is also set up on Easy Pay. Again, I had mentioned some of these other forms of payments: cashier's check, demand draft, money order, traveler's checks. That's all fine. There's no fee associated with that. But again, that kind of stuff does have to be brought to our front window. If you're going to use Flywire, please know that you do need to log in through the school, and there's a link, and it'll direct you. It'll connect directly to your account, so it helps them know how much you need to request. So there are instructions on our website for that as well. And please give yourself a little bit of time. Don't do it the day before the payment deadline, because it's probably not going to get here in time. It does take about 7 days for us to get the funding. So try to initiate that payment early. We do not give out our bank account routing information or for wire payments. It does have to go through Flywire. So I know that if you're trying to get a loan in your country, sometimes they'll ask for the school's routing information and their wiring information, and we don't actually give that information out. You have to initiate a payment through Flywire. That's the only way we're going to accept payment that way, through wire transfers, only through Flywire. We do have also what's called a short-term loan. That is another form of our payment plan. So a student who, again, can't pay by the deadline, this one is a little bit different because it's going to extend your payment deadline to approximately 60 days past census, whereas the installment, as I mentioned, it's going to be divided into 4 payments, and there's going to be an initial payment and then one due each month after that. But this one doesn't require a down payment, but it does extend your payment out to 60 days past the census day, and it's one set deadline. So, for example, the one for spring, I believe, is due on March 23rd. I don't have that date memorized, but I think it's sometime around the end of March that payment would be due, and it's one lump sum is due, and there are late fees if you don't pay that on time. It can only cover your tuition and course-related fees, so it's not going to cover your student health insurance or your meal plan or housing charges that are on your bill. It's only going to extend the payment for your for your tuition and fees. So that means you would have to come up with other payment arrangements for your meal plan, housing, student insurance, things like that that are on your bill. So sometimes students can go ahead and pay that all up front, but they can't pay all of the tuition, so they'll go ahead and extend the payment out. So again, they'll go ahead and extend that payment deadline out, so because they can pay the other fees like the health insurance, the meal plan, the housing, but they just can't pay the tuition and fees. There is a 1.25 origination fee, percent origination fee on that. So that can be a little expensive depending on your tuition charges. So again, the installment is probably the cheapest option if you can make that initial down payment and then the 3 other payments, one per month. Otherwise, this may be an option for you if you can't do that. If you're receiving a scholarship from the university, so if you have qualified for an academic scholarship, those will apply directly to your student account. And if you are receiving a scholarship that exceeds $1,000 for the academic year, that does qualify you for the resident, or what some students know it as the in-state rate, but it does qualify you for the resident rate for the whole academic year. So what will happen is you'll be initially charged as a non-resident student so that you can see how much you're actually being charged. And then we'll give you a credit on your account for the difference between the resident and the non-resident rate. So you will see the full charges. I know sometimes that can be confusing when you're looking at the bill and you see this large amount of tuition, but then you also should see a credit for the difference between the resident and the non-resident rate. And again, that is if you are receiving that $1,000 scholarship from the university, that competitive scholarship, you would receive that. You'll be extended. So when you're looking at the payment and refund calendar for the deadlines for paying your tuition, those students who receive a scholarship would actually follow the one that's called the financial aid recipient deadline. So if you're looking at it for the spring semester, our regular payment deadline for students that are non-financial aid recipients, that is January the 9th. But then you'll see an extended deadline for students who are receiving financial aid, and that's for January the 23rd. So it just kind of gives our financial aid office a little bit of time to get your financial aid applied to your bill, your scholarship, especially if it's a departmental scholarship, because we have to receive the information from, or financial aid has to receive the information from the department, and then financial aid has to put it on so that we can see it. So it can take a little bit of time. So we do need, that's why we give the extended deadline. So what would happen after that, you would use that deadline for paying your tuition. So if you are getting the scholarship and then the rate changes because you're getting the resident rate, then you would pay the difference from there. So don't make a payment of your full non-resident rate if you know you're getting the scholarship, just because you think you need to hurry up and get it paid. Go ahead and wait it out. Wait for the scholarship to apply to your bill. Wait for us to change your rate, and then you could use one of our payment plan options or pay in full. So these are just some helpful tips. It's not recommended to bring cash as a form of payment. A lot of places don't accept cash payments. So like when you're paying your apartment or your utilities or phone services, you're not going to find them accepting cash as a form of payment. So we don't suggest that you bring, all of your tuition and fees to our window in cash. Now, if you have a small cash payment that you need to make toward your installment maybe, or you just wanted to pay part of your student insurance and you had cash for that, we do take cash at our window, but again, we don't suggest that you bring cash up to our window in large amounts. It's not safe for you. So just keep that in mind when you're getting ready to pay. Try to use some of the other forms of payment that I mentioned on the other slide. And then again, the Visa branded travel cards, as I mentioned before, are not accepted for payment of tuition. So anything that has the Visa logo, I know we get a lot of questions. Students ask us, why do you not take Visa? So many things are Visa. Well, they want to charge you, how there's a 1.9% fee that gets charged onto the credit card payments. Well, they want to charge the students a lot more money to do that. So it would cost a lot more for a student to use a Visa. And so we just, don't want to put that hardship on the student. Again, so no Visa branded cards. Demand drafts, again, we do take those at the front window. Just make sure they're made out to UT Dallas. And they actually can be for more than the actual tuition. We would then, once the demand draft processes, we could actually refund you if there's a little bit of money extra. How I had mentioned that we do refunds as necessary. So if a student has a credit on their account, which means they paid their tuition and fees, everything's paid on their bill, and then they have extra money, we would actually send that to the student in a refund. Again, that's where I mentioned if you had a U.S. bank account, you could set up a direct deposit for that. And I'll mention this again, just please allow at least 7 days for the Flywire payments to be received to the university. Again, don't do it the day before the payment deadline, because we're not going to receive it in time and you may be dropped for non-payment. That's why we have those payment deadlines, because we have to report our paid students. And if you're not a paid student, we have to drop you out of the system. So it's very important that you follow those deadlines. And try to not get dropped, because it is hard to get back into those classes once you get dropped for non-payment, and there could be fees added to your account if you're dropped and have to reinstate. So some of the additional expenses that I had mentioned earlier as well, there's housing. If you're going to live on campus, you can find out that information in the housing office. There's off-campus housing as well. There's a link here if you have questions about that. Is this some of the stuff you wanted to normally go over? I'm gonna let Tamara go back over some of this stuff because this isn't my stuff. So
Sure. Yes. So as Lisa mentioned in regards to housing, we have the information there on the page utdallas.edu/housing. As far as I know, it probably is filled up right now for the spring, but it is best to reach out to them directly. If you would like to email them, you can email them at housing@utdallas.edu. We also have a large population of students that do live off campus, and so to get in contact with them, you can follow the website link that is here, utdallas.edu/road-warriors/off campus, and you can reach out to them in regards to the process of, getting housing off campus. If you have questions about, what are some good areas to find an apartment, how to sign an apartment lease, maybe what money is typically required of you in different countries. They ask for different amounts in terms of if you have to put like a down payment or a security deposit down before you can get the key to your apartment. So a really good resource is the Road Warrior, as they will, be able to fill you in with everything that they know about getting off-campus housing. And we do get this question a lot. A lot of students ask us to recommend a particular apartment or particular housing for them. It's not something that we do here at the university. It's just something that is best to reach out to current students and to ask them, and they can advise you. But as a university, we cannot necessarily endorse one particular brand of off-campus housing. So that's why it's best to reach out to the Road Warriors. I believe they also have a Facebook as well. You can try going on Facebook if you have access to Facebook, and searching Road Warriors UT Dallas to see if they have a page there. Another thing to note is that, since we're talking about the bursars and money and payment of things, if you do not have a social security number, which I imagine a lot of our incoming international students probably don't, when you go to try to sign a lease to get an apartment or off-campus housing, they might ask you to pay a higher deposit. Just because, a social security number, people can look up kind of your history, and they can get access to maybe like your credit score, and they can see your ability to pay for things. And so not having this number, sometimes it's just that people might charge you a higher rate because they don't have this information and this history on you. So just be mindful of that. Once again, you can reach out to the Road Warriors. They will be a great resource for all the details on that. Next up is transportation. Here at UT Dallas, we do have a cruiser, which is basically a bus. It's called the 883 bus. And it works on the DART system. The DART system is the Dallas Area Rapid Transit. Now, I know some of you might know, America is generally not known for having great public transportation. And I would say Texas is also one of those places that's kind of not really known for having great public transportation. But it's fortunate that, y'all are choosing UT Dallas because you happen to be in the area that does have some kind of public transportation, which would be the DART system. So that's why UT Dallas is a great choice, because if you don't have a car or you're not interested in getting a car, then you have the option of taking public transportation here, which is called the DART. Now, the DART is free for students. It's actually included in your tuition and fees that you already pay for. So all you have to do is just get a DART pass from the Parking and Transportation Office, and you can ride on any form of DART transportation that they have, whether it be the train or the buses, and it's really neat. If you do decide to get a car, just plan to, of course, you have to pay for gas, car insurance, which is a requirement for you to have, and also if you will be, of course, driving your car to campus, then you also have to get a parking pass. So while you're budgeting and trying to make plans for your money, these are all things that you'll probably need to think about. Of course, some additional expenses that you'll have is textbooks, right? Because how can you do your courses without having textbooks? And there might be different forms of textbooks, whether you rent them or you buy them used, but they will still be an added expense. And of course, you'll need to buy food and toiletries and other household items that you might need to purchase whenever you're new to a home, maybe even furniture. There is a really good group called Big Howdy, and they actually have a furniture giveaway. They usually do this in the fall, though, I would say, but they might be able to help you out for those of you who are coming in the spring. So I would see about reaching out to them. Once again, their name is Big Howdy. And Howdy, like HOWDY, the Texas greeting. And they are a really great resource. They work a lot with international students, and they're just really awesome. Utilities, of course, usually if you have some kind of housing, whether it's, well, I would say specifically if it is off campus, you will be required to pay your own water and electricity. It's not just like you pay your rent or your rent and then all of that is included. Usually it is not, so that will be a separate expense that you have. So do kind of plan and kind of budget for that. Also, internet. A lot of people want to have internet in their homes, and so that's an additional cost. And if you have a phone plan or a phone provider, service provider, then that would be an additional cost as well. So I know some of this might be, some of you might already know this information, but we just kind of want to help you budget so you can have a realistic expectation. Texas is known for having a low cost of living, so I don't think things will be all that expensive, but it will be a cost. So just think about that when you're budgeting your money. Also here in the United States, of course, there are plethora of financial services in regards to banking. Once again, we don't necessarily recommend one particular bank because we want students to choose what is best for them. So some popular banks that maybe we have worked with is Chase Bank. Another one is Bank of America. That's a pretty big bank. Citibank. And Wells Fargo. And then there's also another bank called US Bank. So I know Wells Fargo in particular, they have an ATM machine here on campus, so you can easily kind of withdraw your money from that. Other things to consider is that when you're looking for banks, make sure to look for banks that have some kind of agreement with your home country. And check the banking requirements for opening an account, without a social security number. So once again, we mentioned the social security number and how this is important for, companies to know who you are and know your history and know, can this person, pay for things in a timely manner. And so if some places, if you don't have a social security number, then they might charge you higher fees for things. Or they might, just give you different options from which you can choose. So, make sure to reach out to them and see if the bank has some kind of agreement with, a bank in your home country, which for that, you would have to reach out to the bank specifically. We don't have that information. So you just have to reach out to the bank directly and ask them, say, this is my hometown, do you have any kind of agreement? So that way, if you're trying to do any kind of, like money transfer between bank accounts, maybe that process might be easier. But once again, you have to reach out to the bank directly. They will be the ones to advise you on that. Yes, so lots more, but this is pretty much the main things that we wanted to talk about today in our webinar about paying for the tuition and fees. Now we will actually open the floor for questions that you might have. And once again, as I said, we are not able to hear you, but what I'll do is enable the chat function, and you can go ahead and post messages. So I'll go ahead and just type something in, and if you have any questions, just feel free. We still have time left on the webinar. So just, I'll just go ahead and wait for your questions to come in. In the meantime, I'll ask you, Lisa, I know that you mentioned about, not being able to accept Visa. UT Dallas doesn't accept a Visa card as a form of payment.
Right.
I know some students, I personally haven't done it, but I know some students put their money on like a Forex card, like a foreign exchange card. And are you familiar with the Forex card? And
I'm not actually. A lot of times what we will suggest if you have a Visa card is that Visa actually does like Visa checks. So sometimes there's credit card checks. I know sometimes they'll send you those checks in the mail that have, if you have a Visa card, they'll send you those checks in the mail. We'll take the checks, but it has to be like a Visa check. I don't know about the Forex card. I don't know how people transfer money over to that. If it's a Visa bank card, of course, if it's from directly from your bank, obviously we're going to suggest that you use your checking account, your routing number, and your checking account number, and just do an electronic check. Because sometimes people will come with their debit card from their bank account if they go and open a U.S. bank account and their debit card has the Visa logo and they've put their money into the bank account and they don't know how to pay and they want to use the card. We'll tell them, and we always talk people through on how to use the electronic check, because that can be confusing, because sometimes when you're looking at your bank account, you'll see a routing number for a wire, and then sometimes you'll see a routing number for just directly to the bank account. So you have to make sure you use the one that's directly for your bank account. And so that can be confusing. We do have a lot of times that people put that in and it's wrong information just because they don't know how to use the electronic checks. And we're always willing to help. You can always come up here, bring your checkbook if you have one, your paper check. If not, we can help you look on your bank account online, show you where to find that information. But unfortunately, I don't know a lot about that card that you. Yeah.
I know that because when I went to Japan this summer, and I know Forex is like a currency exchange thing. So basically, I needed to buy Japanese yen, and so I gave them cash, American US dollars, and so instead of them giving me back cash, they could put the money on a card.
Okay.
So this is kind of the Forex thing, but their exchange rate was not that great, so I didn't end up doing.
And I don't know if it would qualify as one that can be accepted through our payment system, just because they have specific, it has to have one of those logos on it, and if it's not if it doesn't have a logo on it, if it's got a MasterCard logo on it or it has a Discover logo on the card, then we can accept it. But if it doesn't, we really can't accept it. I know, like, a long time ago, the bank cards didn't have logos that were like Visa, Master. It was just for that bank.
Right.
So it was if it doesn't have that logo as a credit card, I guess you could say, even though it's coming from your bank account, it's still considered a credit card. It has a credit card backing. We can't even take that. So I don't know if that card would be accepted or not. I have not had anybody ask me that. So that is a new one. Do we have any questions? No.
No questions as yet, but I know that we have. I know we have someone in the chat room. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. The floor is all yours, basically. But there is a question that I wanted to ask. Oh, and then I forgot what it was. So we're having some connectivity issues. It's still good down here when it goes like this. I was going to ask about, I guess there is something that is important. So, as Lisa was mentioning about making sure to take care of things in a timely manner, we know that for our international student population, a lot of students have, maybe they have jobs that they're working, and, maybe they have family that they're taking care of, and so they might get overwhelmed, but try to take care of things in a timely manner. We are approaching kind of a holiday season here in the United States. Next week Thursday will be Thanksgiving, and so our school will be closed next Thursday and Friday. And then we have, the Christmas season, or kind of a winter break coming up in December. So, and we'll be out for about 2 weeks at that time. So just make sure If there's anything that you're trying to figure out, give yourself a head start, because sometimes you think, oh, I'm going to do this task and this task will take me only 2 hours. And then you start doing the task and you realize, oh, this actually, I need 3 days for this, because maybe there's information that I don't have that I need to go and get. So, and I have a philosophy, if I'm working on anything that involves other people, I give myself way more time, because you don't know the other person's schedule, right? So if it's just you alone involved, but if you have to involve, another institution, then you have to be on their time, and then maybe that delays your time. So please, do your early planning so that you can, get your stuff paid for, because as Lisa mentioned, and my country didn't have this, but in the American university system, you can be dropped for non-payment. So you can go on, and register for your classes, but the truth is, if you haven't paid for them, then, it's hard to have you attend those classes if you haven't paid for them. So if you, take all the time and do your research and, look for your professor or the course that you want to be in, you register for the class, excuse me, and then you haven't paid for it, then there is a deadline where you will be dropped out of the class, and then you will no longer be in that class, and now you'll have to either pick another class or try to get back in that class if there are seats available. And if anyone can tell you anything about UT Dallas, classes here go like hotcakes. I mean, they just go so quickly. So you really don't want to have anything in your way in terms of being able to physically attend the class that you're in. Like, registering for the class is one half of it. Then you have to pay for it, and then you have to get the books, and then you have to physically attend. So, after registering, just make sure that you are just, being timely about things. And if you do have any questions, as Lisa mentioned, just reach out to the bursar. It's better to ask the question, clarify any doubt that you might have, so that you can know, how basically what to work on, and kind of how to prioritize things.
And one thing I would like to add too is that you can get on one of our payment plans, and if for some reason you're having trouble paying that payment plan, again, there are late fees for not paying. Reach out to us, let us know what's going on with the situation. We can try to help, give you extensions if we can. Of course, that wouldn't negate the late fees or things like that, but just keep us informed, especially if you take out something like the short-term loan, as I had mentioned, that extends your payment deadline to 60 days past census, and it's all one lump sum. And I know sometimes it's hard coming up with that funding for all that one lump sum. So if you did have money prior to that, we would suggest that you actually go on and start making those payments. That way, whenever that lump sum does come, you're not having such a hard time. But again, reach out to us. There may be something we can do to help you, because one thing that we do after a student is past due on a payment plan, they're going to get a service indicator, which is also known as a hold, and it's going to prevent them from registering for another term until their past payment plan is paid off. So again, if you're having trouble, let us know. We can kind of talk you through a plan that may help you get it paid in time. I know sometimes if you just see this large number that's due on one certain deadline, you just look at it as this big large number. But if we break it down for you and say, well, maybe you could pay this much, this month, and maybe this much next month, and maybe you could work on making payments each week of this month, and then it kind of brings the balance down so that when registration does open, that you're able to register, because that can prevent you from registering for a future semester if your balance is not paid, if you have a payment plan that's outstanding. So those are just in addition to the being dropped for non-payment if you don't pay or you don't get on an installment plan or a short-term loan, because that will prevent you from being dropped. So if you're on a short-term loan or installment plan, that will prevent you from being dropped. That's considered paid, even though you technically haven't actually paid the university. You've set up some kind of a payment plan arrangement with us. You've made an arrangement that you're saying, I'm planning on paying. I do want to attend these classes, and I'm going to try to pay it on the installment, or I'm going to try to pay it on by the short-term loan deadline. So we do consider you a paid student at that time. So again, those are some things just to think about. If you don't get dropped and you do get on a payment plan with us, just make sure you kind of follow through with that payment plan. And if you're having trouble, let us know, and we can kind of help you, talk you through that.
Mhm. And another resource, I mean, it's not, the bursar's office is, of course, a UT Dallas office run by professional staff. It might also be good to hear from students as well. So just an additional resource to share with you is a lot of our student organizations on campus. They, provide services to incoming students. So feel free to check on Facebook if you do have access to Facebook. And by the way, I just want to acknowledge Tade. We saw your message saying that you're good with the seminar. Thank you so much for, letting us know that we, explain things in a way for you to understand. But I would just like to say that if you would like to reach out to student organizations, a lot of them have a Facebook profile. So if you do have access to Facebook, if you go into the search feature, for example, we have there's Indian Student Association, which I know is our largest organization here. We also have we have a Chinese Student Association. So if you want to, get in touch with students, you can email my office at icprograms@utdallas.edu, and they can kind of give you the their story, kind of the student side of what they go through. Kind of earlier in the presentation, how we mentioned about reaching out to road warriors for off-campus housing. Those are a group of students who live off campus, and so they can be a resource to you. We have student organizations that are very helpful, and they love it here at UT Dallas, and they want to help other incoming students. But for questions, specific questions, and getting kind of the official UT Dallas response, it is best to reach out to the bursar's office because they'll have the most updated and accurate information to share with you and help you prepare for the cost of studying abroad, because it is costly. Education is costly, whether you were born in America or you were born outside of America. It is a costly investment. But we do our best here to make sure that your tuition and fees, they go to do I say, they're used in a good way is the best way I can say it. And one of the ways is we have a lot of services for students on campus that your tuition and fees do pay for. For example, we have a student counseling center, we have a health center for students. We have the being able to ride the DART transportation. There's activity centers. There are so many things that students can take advantage of here at UT Dallas. And of course, we have a really good community here. I'm not a native Texan. Lisa is a native Texan.
Yes. And I don't say howdy, but hey.
Hi, Lisa. Why don't you say howdy, Lisa?
Howdy. There we go.
So it's funny thing. I actually like howdy.
Mm-hmm.
I like hearing a howdy. But this community is really great. And as I mentioned, in regards to being able to get around and transport yourself to different places, there's so many things that you can do here in the Texas Richardson area. For that is not too expensive. And then I would say another advantage is the area that we're in is in really close proximity to a lot of corporations, and I'm talking about like international big name companies. And so it's a really good choice to study here at UT Dallas, because we can give you the education, we can provide the other services that you need to maintain yourself as a student, because whilst you might be here for study or for research, but you also need to take care of yourself as a person as well. And so we have services for that. And then we also, we have career center services for you to get help with preparing your resume for when you're, going out to look for an internship or a job, etc. Whether you do an internship, during your studies, or you do OPT after you graduate and you stay here for additional time to get a job. So it's a really good choice. And But yes, you do have to pay for the education, and so it's best to plan ahead of time, and get the questions you have answered so that you can take care of things in a timely fashion. Because as I said, classes here at UT Dallas, they get filled up pretty quickly. So, and then you also have to remember that, nowadays there are in-person classes, but then there are also online classes as well. So you have people signing up for classes, they don't physically have to be here, they can be online. So it's a very good school, and it's competitive that way. So just make sure that you take care of everything. And if I can do a plug for my office, we are in charge of international student orientation. Actually, the Bursar's office, in the fall orientation, we have 2 days. In the Bursar's office, they're in attendance on day 2 to share this information that Lisa shared about how to pay for your tuition and fees. But outside of the fall, we only have a 1-day event. But if you haven't signed up as yet, please go ahead and register for International Student Orientation. Our dates are available. The first one we have for spring is December the 18th, and then we also have one on January the 8th. So if you haven't done so, because Lisa was mentioning about having you can have a hold on your account, and a hold, some people like to look on a hold as like something that stops you from doing something, which in a way it is, but another way to see it is kind of like it's a reminder, like you have to do this thing. So you might, if you have an international student hold or international orientation hold on your account, that means that international student orientation is required for you. And the sooner you can register and attend, then that hold will be removed. And any other holds that you might have on your account, you want to remove those holds so that you can register for classes. So remember, I was talking about physically being in a class is a process, right? Because you have to take care of other things first, including paying for those classes before you can be in them. So just we have a checklist, just to kind of keep it short. We have a checklist on our website. I think it's called pre-arrival checklist. And on that checklist, we kind of show you all the things that you can do, all the things you need to take care of before you arrive in the United States, so that you don't just arrive here and you're just blindsided or you feel overwhelmed by everything. And then you're rushing around trying to get stuff done, and the time is slipping away from you. So check out our pre-arrival checklist. We also have a post-arrival checklist as well, but the pre-arrival checklist would be most helpful if you are outside of the United States. I think we're kind of going to wrap up soon. Lisa, is there any final reminders or anything that you want to emphasize?
Sure. Emphasize, probably do not ignore our communications from our office. It's very important. You will get emails from us. Sometimes people say the bursar's office is harassing us. That's not the case. We just want you to be informed, because we do not want you to be dropped from your classes. We want to make sure you understand our payment deadlines. And so just please check your communications. If we're contacting you, that means there's probably something that needs to happen. Because we're not just going to keep sending you notifications for no reason. So if you're questioning why you're receiving certain notifications, please contact our office. Don't just ignore those communications. Email us back asking us, why do I keep receiving this? What is this about? Because we want you to be informed.
And once again, this webinar is being recorded, so we will upload it on our website. So in case you want to kind of review it, or share it with your parents, or whoever is, if there's anyone that is helping to sponsor you financially, you can review the video with them and kind of show them in case they do have any questions that maybe, because we did talk about a lot of things, so feel free to do that. But we should have the link uploaded. We're going to put it on YouTube, and we also have a Youku or Yoku channel. It's mainly we tend to use it a lot for our Chinese students, but if you have Yoku, and it will be on YouTube. It usually takes about, I would say, maybe 3 days or so to upload it. So give it time if you're trying to find the video. And until then, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. There is our contact information on the screen, and we are so happy to help answer your questions so that you can have the information you need and make the choices you need to make and do the things you need to do to be here with us at lovely UT Dallas. Yes. All right, we're going to wrap it up. So thank you so much, Lisa, for being here. And thank you to those that were here today. And once again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. And just let us know about the webinar. We're going to end the webinar about now, but let us know your feedback, because we do want to know how we can improve on the webinar. So the chat feature is open. Leave a comment and let us know if you have anything in particular. Please remember to exit the session of the of the webinar, just to make sure that you are closed out of it. We do have more upcoming webinars. We don't have a particular date for the next one as yet, but we do have upcoming webinars, and we'll cover different topics that students usually ask us questions about. So thank you once again. Hope you have a good either rest of the day or rest of the night. I'm not sure what time zone you might be in, but thank you so much for joining us, and have a good day. Bye.